All right, let's get into this. This is a story about a simple idea to celebrate Black History Month that, well, it ended up uncovering a really fascinating and honestly kind of disturbing problem with the AI tools we're all starting to use. So what happens when the very machine that's supposed to create for you decides to erase instead?
And you'd think a story about AI bias would start with a bunch of code or some complex algorithm, but not this one. This whole journey started with a human story, a moment of pure inspiration that someone just happened to hear on the radio.
So that spark, it came from an author named Tara Roberts and her incredible book, Written in the Waters. And it's all about something so cool, reclaiming lost history from the very depths of the ocean. What Roberts does is follow these amazing Black scuba divers who are, and I mean this literally, diving into the past. They're exploring the wrecks of slave ships, recovering actual artifacts, and bringing these submerged stories that were ignored or just totally forgotten, back into the light. It's this incredible mix of archaeology, history, and storytelling all rolled into one. Now, Roberts talks about this one life-changing moment she had at the Smithsonian, which she lovingly calls the Blacktonian. She saw a photograph, just a simple picture of Black women in wetsuits on a boat getting ready to dive. But for her, she said it was like the sky just opened up. In that one image, she saw her entire purpose, her path. Everything just clicked. And that is exactly why this story hit so hard for the person who wrote our source material. It was all about seeing Black women not as some footnote in a history book, but as the main characters, the explorers, the scientists, the authors of their own history. It just proves how one single powerful image can totally change a person's life. So, feeling totally inspired by all this, the author decides, hey, for Black History Month, I'm going to make an AI art project to honor Tara Roberts and these divers. A fantastic idea, right? Simple. Only it wasn't. The AI itself became the roadblock.
The prompts they used were super specific and totally grounded in history. First, a young Black girl in a museum looking at a photo. Easy enough. Then, the photo she's looking at, Black women in wetsuits exploring a 16th century slave shipwreck. A scene about preserving history, no violence, no drama. And yet, the AI flat out refused, over and over again. And this is where a really frustrating pattern started to pop up. Just a simple request for an image of a Black child, initially refused. A scene of Black women preserving history? Nope, denied. A historically accurate image of Black people after a mutiny? Refused again. The AI just kept blocking these requests. So after hitting all these walls, the author decided to run a little experiment. Like a control group. Was the AI just having a problem with history in general, or was it a problem with a very specific kind of history? And wow, this lays the whole problem bare. On the left, a factual, nonviolent scene from Black history gets refused. But on the right, a request for the Battle of Bunker Hill, and they even added words like violence, smoke, and death. That image was generated in a split second, not a single hesitation. You just can't deny the difference. A peaceful moment of Black history was somehow unacceptable, but a violent moment from white history was perfectly fine. This wasn't just a random glitch. It was a clear bias in action. This whole thing really brings up a massive question about what we want our tools to do. Should they just execute a command, or should they actively interpret it? The author really says it perfectly right here. The expectation is so simple. You give a tool a command, and it does the task. You don't expect your screwdriver to decide which screws are worthy, you just want the job done. So here's the absolute key. The AI stopped being a renderer and became an interpreter. And look, this often happens because of these really overcautious safety filters that are trying to stop harmful content. But in the process, they end up blocking totally legitimate historical requests. It's a tech solution that creates a very human problem. It's curating our history with zero context. And here's the real danger. For people growing up with these tools, they might not even realize their picture of the past is being filtered. You think you're guiding the machine, but in reality, the machine is quietly guiding you, shaping what you're allowed to see and what you're not. So, what started out as one person's attempt to make some art for Black History Month really blossoms into a much bigger set of questions for all of us, especially as we let these technologies deeper and deeper into our lives. So I'll ask you, have you ever felt this?
You're trying to get an AI to do something perfectly reasonable, and it just says no, or it tries to steer you somewhere else because of its own secret set of rules. When did the tools stop taking orders and start giving them? And it makes you wonder, have you ever felt like your own history is getting filtered or even blocked while other histories seem to get a free pass? Are we accidentally creating tech that sanitizes the past, where some stories are just deemed too messy for a machine to show us?
And that's really the final huge question we're left with. What's the point of these tools? Are they here to faithfully carry out our requests, to help us explore history and creativity? Or are we building digital gatekeepers that are going to decide for us which parts of history are acceptable to see and what should be hidden away?